What's the one piece of advice you wish you had taken earlier in your life? That one little bit of information that if you had applied it 10 years earlier, you'd be so much further down the line. And that's one guiding principle I've been thinking about for every video I make. How can this help people? But I've also realized that Nashville is full of other musicians that are willing to help musicians as well, which is why I've decided to start sitting down with some other great musicians and share their wisdom with my viewers. And the first person that came to mind when I thought of doing this was none other than Scott Metko. And every time I talk with Scott, he is a gold mine of wisdom and information. Insight that you can't find online. Insight that goes far beyond the boilerplate advice that everyone gives you. So this is the first of a segment where I'm gonna be sitting down with some influential musicians, both in the Nashville and the global scene. And Scott is a great musician. He's a drummer, he's a band leader, he's a manager. He's worked with David Ball in the past, both as his drummer and his manager. He's been on the hit TV show Nashville, he's been in Hollywood feature films, and his latest project, Hippies and Cowboys, is just taking off. Scott's a guy that, within the first 10 seconds of talking to him, I immediately liked him. This is a guy that I want in my world. And I think you'll agree too. So please enjoy this short conversation with the one and only Scott Metko. What would you tell a younger version of yourself if you go back in time? If you're working as a supporting musician, which you do, what's the one piece of advice you would give the younger version of yourself?
One thing I would tell my former self is just chill, relax. The right things are going to happen at the right time. If you put the work in, if you're true in your intent, if you love what you're doing, part of it is what's your motivation? We're musician sidemen. What's your motivation? Do you want to get a lot of fame? Do you want to get a lot of money? Do you want to get a lot of girls? Do you want to push the art of drumming or whatever your musical profession is? Do you want to push that forward? Do you want to become a better player? There's all different kinds of motivations. What are you doing this music thing for? If you're doing it just to get a lot of money or to get a lot of girls, you might get that. Is that ever enough and is that ever fulfilling? Maybe not. I wanted to be in a band for so long, a rock band when I was younger. I would look at the album covers of bands like Van Halen and all four guys would write all the songs. How does that happen? How does that work internally? And I'd given up on that thinking I'm kind of past that. There's not a whole lot of rock bands or bands in Nashville. And then I found one. Well, I helped create one. Here's another thing I'd tell my younger self. If you help someone get what they want, they will help you get what you want. I've developed this posture of just helping other players. Maybe get them work that I could play as well, but just help them. Because if I help them find a gig or help them get a connection, you think they're not going to want to help me in some form or fashion? If somebody needed help, the singer in Kokomo, Indiana, opened up for David Ball, who I was playing with at the time. He says, I'm moving to Nashville. I'll help the guy. Like so many people before, if I can help a connection or whatever, introduce, get him some work, get him acclimated. I remember it was a culture shock when I came to this town. So I developed this posture of helping people. That has turned into, 5 years later, a great rock and roll band called the Hippies and Cowboys. So my point is, when I was younger, I was striving, I want to be in a band, I want to find a band, I want to tour the world. And it's like, it came to me.
I know a lot of people in this town who can play and aren't getting the gigs and aren't getting the calls. And it's not because they don't have the chops. It's something else hasn't clicked for them. And so what would you tell someone who has the ability to be a professional and the skills, but it's just not happening?
I think a mistake can be made where you're thinking that musical skills are all that's required. Okay. You have to be able to play. That's kind of a prerequisite. You have to be able to play. And one of the first things I figured out for myself, I remember having a conscious thought. I was a big fish in my little town. I did okay in a couple of larger markets before here, but when I got here, this is Nashville. Am I good enough to hang? So I did enough jam sessions, met enough guys where I kind of felt that I was good enough to hang. That was good. But then what I realized over the course of time, the ability to play and have the chops and what you're doing on stage is just one thing. What are your people skills? What are your business skills? And now there's all this attention on mental health. What's your mental health resiliency? And we could talk just very briefly about all those kind of things. People skills. We've all heard the term, it's the hang, right? We all know what the hang is. You have to be, you gotta be able to hang. This isn't a profession like being an accountant and you can sit in the back of the cubicle and just be with your numbers and not be the most outgoing. You don't have to be that concerned about your personality if you can balance those books. It's not as big of a deal. This is a people business. You have to realize that what kind of environment did I come from? Why are you the person you are? Do you have any scripts that are making it maybe kind of difficult for you to hang? Maybe you're not getting a call because you're kind of an exhausting person to have in a 5-person van for a 10-hour drive. But look at where we are. We're in a drum rehearsal space, and you can't just sit in a room like this for hours on a day and blast through all your favorite Benny Greb and your left foot clave and have all this stuff happening and think that's all you need, because it's not. Okay, skills, yes, but also people skills, paying attention to the business, because as I've told you, and you've quoted me and you shot a video about this, the second word in the music business is business. You have to also keep your mind on that. You got to be a businessman as well as being a player. It's just not enough to be a great player. It's just not.
I'm glad you enjoyed that short snippet of our conversation. If you'd like to see more, simply just tell me in the comments, because I have about an hour of conversation with Scott that I might put out in bits and pieces depending on what my viewers want. And if this is something that hits with you, let me know. If not, let me know, because this channel is all for you. My whole goal is to give other musicians insight on how to climb the ranks, on the lessons that you don't learn in music school, that you don't learn other than me maybe doing it the hard way. And if I can help make your climb up the ladder a little bit easier, I'm happy to. If you're interested in this content, let me know. Or you could simply subscribe to my channel. If you would like to support this channel, you can donate via PayPal. And if you really like what we're doing here, I'm looking to upgrade my infrastructure, looking to build out a space where I can regularly have these conversations with people. Maybe get a little bit better lighting, a little bit better video and audio. Just kind of up the game so I can help create more content for you out there. So please like, follow, subscribe, tune into my weekly live chats. Sundays at 3:30 Central Time, which is 4:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific.